One Piece is a story with many special things, many mysteries and many unanswered questions. One of these things are devil fruits, but recently with more time spent with Dr. Vegapunk, we have at least learned a few tad bits of information of how devil fruits were made in the past, not how they are made right now by the Vegapunk or even somebody like Caesar. So we see Devil Fruit as one of the main power systems of One Piece. Then there's also Haki and cursed weapons and other things. But I think Devil Fruits are the most fun thing in the series because they can be everything. You can turn into a stupid man who shoots fire at people and dies because of a "you're dead" joke. You can be a god connected to the sun, or you can be somebody doing something completely different. It's basically you can do whatever you want situation, whatever you want to desire, that can happen. And in this Devil Fruit Factory today, we're going to share one Devil Fruit that is exactly what I wanted to do. It's actually a fruit that one of my original characters has in a story that I'm planning. Don't know if it will come on this channel ever, or if it's just gonna be kept in my private parts. Today we're going to create a devil fruit. Just like Caesar and Vegapunk, we're making our very personal Paramecia type devil fruit. It's a devil fruit by the name of the Share fruit. It's, as the name implies, it turns you into a share human. Not in the sense of stocks being a share, but in the sense of you sharing something with somebody else. So it allows you to share everything between people. If you want to have a visual depiction, it's like the cherry on the thumbnail. You can see it here again. Just imagine instead of white, it's actually a blue cherry. You become a share human. And as I said before, you can share everything you want between people you touch, because sharing is caring. This is an insanely powerful devil fruit, and it's not just because I made it as the fruit of a main character, it's because it has such a wide variety of usage, and it can be really dangerous for people fighting it, but also for the world government because it has a lot of abilities hidden inside of it. Obviously, other people need to be willing to share with you. It's all about the consent. And if you just touch your enemy and say, oh, I want to sap or I want to share all of his strength to me, it's not going to work because the enemy isn't willing to share. Normally, most devil fruits have like a barrier of things like Lord can just teleport everyone around willy-nilly because they have stronger haki than him sometimes. And this fruit doesn't even need to have the haki restriction, it's about consent. If you touch a human and they don't consent the share action from your devil fruit, it's just not going to happen. They need to agree verbally or maybe only in their head, and it will happen in that instance. Then we come to the first ability. At first we go through the combat stuff and then through everything besides combat. My first idea, because this was for a character and also a bit of an idea because I'm deep into D&D, it's slightly connected to it. My first ability would be called Stat Share. So you touch somebody and they can give some of their stats to you or vice versa. So that goes for strength, intelligence, dexterity, wisdom, constitution, charisma, willpower, all these different things. Or if you want to call them destructive power and speed for other things, all of these things can be shared. And this stat share stays active for 1 hour before all the stats get redistributed to the person they originally belonged to. So if you just think about it, you already have your base strength, which might not be as strong as other people, but you already have something as a base. And then if you touch all of your crew members and all of them give their strength to you, all of their combined strengths or like power levels are inside of your body. It's essentially like Luffy getting all of these different shadows, but this is just you getting their stats. I wonder if there should be a limit to this, essentially like the willpower limit for shadows, but in this sense it would be not maybe your willpower, but your base constitution, that you can only get as many stats as your constitution score or something, if you call it in D&D terms, or just something in that world, because there needs to be a limit, or they just really have a crew of 100 willing people, touch everybody, zap their strengths, and they become stronger than Whitebeard. I mean, they wouldn't necessarily become stronger if they just take the strength of 100 people, because if you put 100 civilians against Whitebeard, they're still going to get washed. So you still need strong people. If you get 100 weak people, you might be able to take a decently strong person. Like 100 civilians could essentially defeat somebody like Captain Morgan, maybe? Maybe Morgan is even stronger than I thought. I just think the East Blue villains or antagonists all have the problem that they only fought against Luffy or Zoro, and those characters are really strong, so maybe the East Blue isn't as weak as we thought it is, but let's continue at a different pace here. At higher progress level, the user of the share fruit can also share things with inanimate objects, for example trees, boulders, swords, armor, or other things. These stats return after only 10 minutes, because essentially the idea was that the sharpness of a sword and something is not something a human is used to. So it's in a different ballpark compared to just getting the strength of another person. If you get the sharpness of a sword or the defensive powers of a boulder, it's different for a human and the human body isn't used to it, which makes it harder to keep it in your body for as long. And obviously these objects can't consent to you to giving that power, but because it's like, maybe it's not the awakened power, but it's only a power you get after training a bit longer with the fruits. So it's something you can use as an ace up your sleeve or something in a very drastic situation. Then we come to something I would call ability share. Obviously back to D&D, I said sharing proficiencies. In D&D there are things like proficiencies for athletics, acrobatics, history, and all these other things, and then you can share these proficiencies or these things you are good with. In One Piece terms, you could also call them fighting styles or knowledge and these other things, because if Zoro is a master of the Three Swordsman style and he shares that knowledge to you, you gain that proficiency, but he will lose it in return. So until you return it to him, he wouldn't be able to fight the Three Sword style anymore, but you would be able to. This one would probably need to have an even stricter time limit, like 5 minutes or maybe only 1 minute, because it's very, very strong, gaining the power of a swords master on top of whatever you already are. Or even further ahead, I also thought about devil fruit sharing, and devil fruits can only be shared 100%, it's either nothing or everything. So essentially, if you touch Whitebeard, and Whitebeard is willing to give you his Quake fruit power, you have the Quake fruit's power. And this is very insane because you could have 10 devil fruits at the same time, and it's not like Blackbeard having the fruits because you only have it for a very limited time. The sad part about this, the person who gave you their devil fruit powers still would have the devil fruit weakness. They would still not be able to swim and do the other things, and Sea Stone is strong against them. All of these things would still be problematic for them, but they wouldn't have the devil fruit powers because they gave them to you for a certain time frame. But now imagine this scenario. There is a character fighting against a very strong opponent. He has a few devil fruit users on his crew, but they are already down on the ground, exhausted, and can't really do anything anymore. But before he goes to the enemy, he goes over there and touches them on the shoulder and asks them, "We are a crew. Together we can beat them." This is essentially a power of friendship trope, but it actually works because they would give their powers to him, and even if they gave the power to the main user, he wouldn't necessarily be strong with them. Obviously, he's not as trained with the devil fruits as they are. So, unless they also give the knowledge about how to use the devil fruit with them, so essentially it could work, but it's a power boost for the character to become a monster, a behemoth of different abilities. And it could also lead to the point where the Marines are not really sure what devil fruit this person has. Or we don't really need to say Marines, because when you think One Piece, you instantly think that the Marines are your enemies, but it could be all of the characters. It could be other pirates, bounty hunters, the revolutionaries, the world government, or just some kingdom. All of these people could be enemies, essentially. Now let's come to non-combat information. I have this separated into a few different categories. For example, first we have the health share. The health share is simple. We all have doctors on our crews because they are important for you to not get sick or be taken care of if you are injured. But a health share essentially works in a way that You take the health from one person and give it to yourself or to another person. This can be used in a healing way to get rid of sickness, or just to make them back again with full energy, not be exhausted anymore. So in Dressrosa, when Luffy was down on the ground and not able to move around anymore, the user of the share fruit could essentially touch somebody else, take the health into him, and then touch Luffy to give him this health, to give him the stamina to go gear forth once again. This is an insane healing ability, especially because there are not many devil fruits with healing abilities to begin with, and I think it could be a turnaround for many things. Just imagine in other ways, like health could also be related to age. So if somebody gives a lot of health to characters like Garp, Sengoku, or other old people, they could power them up once again, like Rayleigh as well. And if they go back to their prime, that's always what you think about. If a character returns to their prime because of a devil fruit that can make them a bit younger or healthier again, it would be an insane spectacle, even though it would take away from our main characters as well if somebody who was strong in the past just makes a return. The next one isn't as dramatic, it's called Hunger Share. Hunger Share is simple. If you are hungry, you can take the satiated feeling that somebody has and put it inside of you so that you are not hungry anymore. Obviously, the other person would be hungry again if you take away all of their satiation, their like not hungriness, and then they would need to eat again. But you can also just distribute and share it slightly around so that everybody is almost not hungry. I feel like this could be good if you're stranded on an island and don't have a lot to eat and really need to make sure that everything is rationed out. So even if everybody eats something, you can still distribute that hunger between the people to make sure that everybody has the same amount of things inside of them. And just realize this, not everybody needs to eat the same amount of foods. So if somebody is at 80% full stomach and you share something from them to other people, these 80% are not really 80% for somebody else. Let's say Nami's 100% stomach is like 10% of Luffy's, or maybe even less. And last but not least, information share. This is the ability the world government would be most scared about. Characters like Nico Robin, or essentially only Nico Robin, know how to read the poneglyphs. So if you touch Robin and she shares the information on how to read poneglyphs with you, you can instantly share it to an entire society. Everybody would be able to read these things. And not only the poneglyphs, you can also share just knowledge about everything. Somebody read a book, they shared information, everything that was inside of the book with you, and it's like you read it. It's an insanely useful ability and very dangerous for somebody who wants to keep knowledge locked down like the word government. Now, the last thing is just further information. Combat shares, if you train long enough, the time we can use them increases, obviously. So they start out like, the stat share starts out with only 1 hour, but maybe you can increase it to 2 hours or 24 hours. The same is true for things if you share with inanimate object, which only lasts for 10 minutes in at the beginning, but you can increase it in the future. And also ability shares that may only last for 1 minute, but in the future they can last longer. It's all about training and also imagination, because if you have other powers, you need to be creative on how to use them to bring the full power out of them. That is essentially how devil fruits work. There's no such thing as a weak devil fruit, it's just how you use it, besides maybe the jacket fruit. And then non-combat techniques like health, hunger, and information share, I would say they don't have a time limit, because if you share your health with somebody and an hour later the health gets zapped from them again and goes back to your body, that person might end up dying. But I feel like non-combat, because it's out of a combat situation, it will last forever. So, and in the case of non-combat, it's also a sharing system. So let's go back to the Robin example. If Robin gives you her knowledge or her information about how to read poneglyphs, she would lose that ability, she just shares it with you. So you can use it as well. So that's why I think the non-combat shares are maybe even more impressive compared to the combat shares, even though both have a lot of strong things in their respective areas. So that is the devil fruit I created for a character in a story that I wanted to share maybe in the future or never. We will see about that. First of all, we need to finish Shadow Piece. But that's all from me for today. All that's left to be said is stay happy, stay healthy, and most importantly, stay cultured. Pyro out. Bye!